Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. Tonight will be the conclusion of a tournament that has been run on this channel that it takes place in the Highlander universe. This is using a game system called Reflections, which is based on a single moment, another system by a gentleman by the name of Tobie Abad. And this is, like I said, the last hurrah, the final game. These two individuals that you see on the bottom of the screen here have stood the test of time and made it here to face one another until only one of them is left standing. Reflections is a player versus player improv purely game, and is very, very interesting. It's produced some really awesome stories that have kind of spanned human history and the globe so far. So I'm really excited to see how these two individuals are going to wrap this entire thing up in a nutshell. So before we get started, I am going to say this is an adult channel. This is an adult game. These are adults playing them. I am an adult. We're all adults, except for maybe you. But it's very, very likely that the language will get foul and the topics will remain mature. It's a game about decapitating people. So if that's not your kind of thing, then it's a good idea for you to just go away and watch something else. But if you're going to stick around, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And yeah, we'll get things started here in just a second. I'm going to kick it over to my two players so that they can do their introductions, plug their channels and things of that nature before we do get started. So first off, Jeff.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Jeff. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Encounterbalance. You can see my games and other content there if you so please. I also do a podcast / live show thing with our wonderful host Jeremy here, along with our friend Chad Nick, called The Dudes of Yore. So please give both of those a look if you're so inclined. And yeah, I'm incredibly stoked to be here in the finale here. It's been a pretty remarkable road. Even just through the games that I've been lucky to be a part of. And I'm sure the other side of the table has been just as fascinating. For the ones that I've seen so far, I know that it has been. So I'm super excited to see how all these little threads will weave into this final tapestry that we're making here. I can't wait.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's always great to have you back on the channel, Jeff. Love doing game stuff with you and talking about gaming, so it's always a pleasure. And yes, this game has produced surprising results thus far. The kind of stories that it has pulled out and the scenes and moments that we've been able to see because of it, especially considering the game being such a simple, almost bare bones kind of system. It's been really, really interesting. So I too am looking very much forward to the end of this. And next up we have Jason.
Hey everybody, I'm Jason Smith. I have a channel called Smith's Forge Gaming where I run a few live games over there. Feel free to come check them out. And I am a fan of both of these two dudes beside me here. Both of them put out some really phenomenal content, and you should definitely check out everything they have to offer. I am really, really looking forward to seeing where this ends up tonight. I'm surprised to actually be here. Who I've been playing is a total ass and has no right to be at this stage in life. So we'll see what the dice have in store tonight. Appreciate it.
Every story needs its villain. So I'm glad to see that we have our choice of villains tonight, as both individuals, the Immortals who have made it this far, are either sketchy outright or have developed some sketchy behaviors. So, Jason, it's fantastic to have you here. We don't get the chance to game together very often. Our schedules do not align in a kind way, but I'm very happy to have you back once again to finish this up, and good luck to both of you. So, all right. You guys know how this works. You've done it twice before. I'll do a little brief introduction. We'll do the prologue. The big difference is the very, very first scene. I will use the alternate version of, which I think both of you have done once now. So, and then we'll go back into the regular scenes until we get to our fifth and final scene, which we will play through just like the others. But it leads directly into the duel itself, and will have to take place in the same area that is established in the prologue. But you guys know all of this. Get your D6s ready, and we'll get things started. All right. From the dawn of time we came, moving silently down through the centuries, living many secret lives. In the days before memory, there were the Immortals. We were with you then, and we are with you now. Throughout the history of men, there's been a secret war waged by powerful beings known as the Immortals. Most of these beings live out normal lives with no knowledge of their true nature, their true power. But each of them carries within themselves the seed of their immortality, which is only triggered upon death by unnatural and violent causes. It is only when they experience this first death that they become immortal. Immortals can only be truly killed by decapitation. When one immortal decapitates another, the winner of their battle receives a transfer of power from the deceased. This transfer of knowledge and experience is called the Quickening. Eventually, all the Immortals must cross blades and do battle until there is only one left alive. The survivor will receive the prize, which enables its winner to gain unlimited knowledge of the universe. In the end, there can be only one. So, when you gentlemen are ready, one of you please pick who will be player one, the other of you will be player two, and we'll begin the prologue if you determine that.
Rochambeau for it.
Player one.
Okay, I'll do player one.
Excellent. All right. The prologue sequence in Reflections is stated at the beginning of the game and at the finale. It starts with both Immortals facing each other, ready to have their final duel and recounting the events that brought them to this moment. Each player reads aloud the first part of the statement, then gives their answer immediately following. This call and response is how the two players set the scene for the upcoming story. Whenever you guys are ready.
Do we decide where we're going to be at first, or do we just do the intro?
Yeah, you can just figure that out as you're doing the intro.
Okay.
It's perfectly fine.
Okay. I stand before you with my saber. Eyes meet yours. I am William Black-Eyed McCullen. I come to claim the prize. There can be only one.
Jason, if you would kick us off with the first line that's listed as the prologue. Do you have it with you?
I do not, actually.
Okay.
I think I have it saved. So
yeah, you're fine. It's our paths first crossed when, and then you pick a period in history.
Yes. Where did I put that first off? Either way, our paths first crossed. At the Battle of the Somme, the First World War.
All right.
like that.
Now we stand. Now we stand upon the roofs of the New York City skyscrapers in the midst of a storm.
Jason, your next is I remember when you were blank.
Could you link that sheet to me in a chat real quick?
Yes, I will try to find it real quick.
I was trying to do the same. I remember when you sought my help on your knees.
This feud started when we were the only two people left to feud.
I dig it.
Avery, you want fuel?
I had that.
Yeah. And then you would say, my name is blank, and I am blank, and I'm here for your head.
My name is, again, my name is William the Black Eye McCullum. I've come to claim the prize and your head.
My name is Sir John Bennett. I am a knight turned fighter for the common people. The prize will be mine. There can be only one.
There can be only one.
Excellent. All right, I am looking for that real quick. Trying to get my Google Drive to come up. So while we're doing that, while I'm waiting on that, we're gonna go with this alternate scene 1. This is called When Paths and Blades First Crossed. This is the time you first met. You did not know each other before, but somehow you found one another, another immortal. A challenge was issued, but something occurred that prevented either of you from emerging victorious. Perhaps one of you took pity on the other for some reason, or perhaps you found that you had to suddenly work together in order for you both to survive. Perhaps you parted afterward for decades or even centuries, but your fates were linked forever from this moment. Strive to establish at least a modicum of trust between you throughout this scene. Also, think about who you are and in what period of history this takes place. So, if you would, the objectives are, for 1 die, choose your own objective. And remember just to send it to me in our individual Facebook chats. The second dice option is to get your rival to save or spare your life. The third dice option is to get your rival to admit that you are the stronger fighter. And the fourth dice option is to convince your rival to swear a vow to you. So take a moment to consider those. And then you guys can establish the scene and take us out. Okay. Looks like I've got Jason's. What is my computer doing? Jeff, did you send me yours?
I just did, yeah.
You did now. Okay, I got it. Cool. So whenever you guys are ready.
Excellent. We are, I imagine, given both of our backgrounds, on the same side of this conflict. This battle has been raging on for what seems like an eternity. The horror of trench warfare has really set itself firmly into your brain, and maybe, like most men, may have shattered it. It certainly has cracked mine. I think we would open up with I think Bill would come running over the battlefield and find himself in the same trench as you, and we would go from there.
Yeah, I imagine just as you like pour into the trench, there's another like next wave, go, and like people like run over, like go up and over before it's just like machine gun fire just rips everybody to shreds. Like it's just a terrible massacre. Like this entire war has been just tragedy after tragedy. And I think Sir John would actually be at this point one of the people commanding. He's yelling for people to go. Though in his heart he wishes that he didn't have to, knowing that he sends them to their death. He basically is ordering them for suicide, and he wishes that he could do more with these people, but he has to follow his chain of command too.
For sure. And yeah, that first wave as I jump in overs the lip and gun down, maybe some of them even fall back into the trench. Bill would pick up a rifle and kind of make eye contact with you, not sure if what he feels is what he thinks it is, or perhaps just the fear of battle in this new form of war, and awaits your signal. Looking at some of the younger faces around us, knowing that they'll never see anything peaceful again.
Yeah, I imagine it's like one of the other soldiers goes to like lose himself and goes to flee, unable to force himself over. John will have to like run up and like grab him by the collar and like yell at him, give him hell. Like, no, you're not leaving. You have to get out there. You have orders. We have missions. Like just like what all this stuff that he's yelling. And his face like would show, despite the severity and like seeming control and fury that would be on it, that there'd be like a pang of guilt as he does that. But then he'll like feel the same feeling that you feel, and he'll like look over, and his eyes will kind of narrow at you for a moment before perhaps a wave of understanding will wash over his face. And he'll have a theory that perhaps there's more to you than meets the eye, and he'll want to test that theory. So he'll look over to the next line. All right, soldiers, now! And he'll like give the orders for the next wave to charge.
Excellent. Yeah, as you scream charge, the line jumps up and starts to move forward. I hesitate just for a second. I keep my eye locked on you, and scream at you. They call me McCullen. I'll see you again. And over the lip I would go. And as soon as I pop up, sniper fire, right in the heart, fall right back down. My breathing would be ragged. And look at you. Well, I hope you're honorable at least. And I would die. for a countless time.
Yeah, John would like walk over to your body and see you fall, and he'd like kneel down, uh, under the guise of just a commander mourning yet another life. Would kind of lean down, and kind of go over your body to see what wounds have hit you and how bad it's going to be, and how much that it might take for you to recover. And then for just the smallest bit of time, a thought will come across his mind. It's like, I could end this right here, right now. While he's gone, you would never even know. I'm gonna like shake that thought from his head. At this stage of things, he's never killed an immortal, at least not in this sort of way. So as quickly as the dark temptation will come into his head, it will leave, and he'll shake his head from it, and then remember that he has duties to attend to, and just like yell, "Someone get this kid a medic," or whatever, and like order for your body to be taken to wherever it might be, to be at least looked at before they'll realize that you're dead, knowing that that's not the case.
Okay, and as you order me to be removed, they look at you kind of bewildered at not only my body but the dozens and dozens of others that lie in the mud, that have been lying in the mud for not only hours but days at a time. And at that moment, a squad of German infantry would, I imagine, come barreling down the trench several dozen feet behind you as you're tending to me. You'd quickly, well, they would open fire, felling several that were still alive beside you. You turn around, continue to fire back. It's you take maybe a couple hits and are falling to the ground, possibly to the same fate that you saw me. And it's then that crack of fire comes from around you, from behind you, and fells the remainder of the German soldiers. And you'd hear me laughing maniacally as I would grab your shoulder and say, "We've got to get the fuck out of here," and push you forward, both of us running.
Yeah, like as quickly as he could even try to like justify his order to have you taken away, like knowing how strange that would seem, given the circumstances, like trying to think of a justification that he can tell these people as to why, whose son you are or whatever, as to why your body needs to go back. But before he can even do that or sound the alarm, this infantry assault happens, this ambush comes in, and he'll take a couple hits, nearly falling. And they'll like try to like yell out ambush, but in this midst of the chaos, the gunfire, it falls upon deaf ears. The people who need to know are already aware anyways, as their friends are being shot, and just look over to you as you push him, like wondering how you're standing right now, but then of course realizing, yeah, wait, you need to regroup. Fall back. We need to regroup. And he'll like kind of grab to like pull you along with him to make sure that you stay near. Not wanting to turn his back too too clearly to anybody here. Knowing now what he knows.
And in the raining chaos that's going on around us, as we're pulling each other along down this trench, mortar fire would start impacting, boom, 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 right where we were, as our position had now been overrun by German forces. I see us turning around a bloodied corner of one of the trenches, finding ourselves in front of 3 German soldiers themselves. And without thinking, McCullen tosses his rifle at the face of one of the Germans, catching him by surprise. The gleam of steel you would see whip out and slice 2 of them down, while jumping onto the third, driving my blade deep into his throat and into the mud, and holding him there, my other hand over his screaming face, silencing him. Shh. And as he stops moving, wipe the blood off on his body, look at you as I put the sword back and under my field coat. Seems the old ways are a little more handy than expected in these weird times.
Everything's changing. The people, the ways to kill, the lifestyles. Yet some things will stand the test of time. Yeah, then there's another, like, before anything more can happen, there's another, like, blast from a rifle will go out. I'd have to, like, duck back away from you, like, rolling before, like, taking another shot, pulling up his own, like, commander's, like, pistol and firing a couple shots, hitting this soldier in the chaos. And I'll kind of, like, look down at the now, like, dismembered and, like, muddied face of this man who you've, like, massacred in this, like, fairly brutal way. Given like the efficiencies of modern war, and I'll kind of give you a look, but he won't say anything. So it might be clear on his face that he's like questioning why you would dispatch him in such a way.
And we would sit silent for just a moment. Not entirely sure how much time is actually passing through this bloodied chaos, but for now, there seems to be just a moment of peace. And Bill would slightly peek up, then behind him on just over the lip of the trench itself, trying to gain bearings. And I'd scoot back down, well, slide really down the muddied wall of the trench, looking to you. That way's no good. If we're gonna get out of here, we've got to find a better route than this. This is no good. As I think we would hear the whir of a motor coming across. My eyes would go wide, recognizing this killing beast that man has invented, as a German tank scoots over and the front of it falls over just onto the other side of the trench. And as it tries to cross forward, another mortar, boom, very, very close by, would knock the both of us away, as the tank explodes in its fiery fury. I would stand up, seeing the burnt and twisted metal, look around myself, kind of tip my hat to you and jet off as fast as I could.
Yeah, I think there's like a mutual understanding that would go across both of our faces. It's like we're leaving for now, but we know that this will not be the end of it. Somehow, some way, we'll find ourselves face to face again. But before any sort of grand interchange can happen, the roar of explosions will continue. and Sir John will watch you leave, and then like try to like stand up and get a sense of what's happening to him, like look for back to where his lines are, and see if any of his troops have somehow survived the assault.
Excellent. That sounds like a scene 1. Yeah, perfect.
Agreed.
All right, so if you gentlemen would please go ahead and reveal what tip-top secret objectives you chose.
Yeah, the scene kind of went in the complete opposite of my goal, which was
It happens.
trying to get Sir John to recognize me and admit that I appear to be the more formidable of the fighters.
Yeah, I would. Sorry, go ahead. I would certainly say that that was not how it went down.
No. Bloodthirsty, maybe better. Nah.
All right, Jeff.
Yeah, mine was get a rival to save or spare your life. Which the intricacies of immortalhood kind of muddy this one a little bit, because he did have the scene where he like pushed me away from the German infantry wave to try to get us to somewhere else, but that wouldn't have actually killed me, because unless they have an immortal there who would have cut my head off. So I don't know if you want to call that one a win or a lose. I'll defer to the judge decision on that one.
I would probably call that a win, because, I mean, decapitation can come as easily from mortar fire as it could from a sword.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so what that means is that, Jeff, you have earned yourself 2 dice, and Jason, you have earned yourself 2 hatred dice. Okay. Speaking of 2s, we're on to scene 2. All right. This one is called Strength in Numbers. Immortal duels are always one-on-one. Interference is forbidden, even on behalf of a friend or a lover. But the quickening leaves an immortal weak and nearly defenseless. For this reason, many travel together in pairs, so that should one of them fall to a challenger, the second can take immediate revenge. This is usually enough to discourage many immortals from issuing challenges. For a time, you swore your sword to one another, to take revenge on any challenger that may succeed where your friend failed. In this scene, you should establish the trust that your current relationship is built upon. So if you would please, gentlemen, take a look at the options for objectives for this scene, and then shoot them over to me. That might be both of them. Dingy, dingy, dingy. Okay. I have them both. So, whenever you are ready, you may begin.
Do you want to take this one, Jeff, or do you want me to set it up?
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess it should take a short second to clarify some timeline questions here.
Absolutely.
I don't want to stomp on any toes. Do you have any scenes yet, or commitments either on or off the screen during World War II? I think I'm going to jump to there if you don't.
I had a particularly dastardly scene in the Second World War with a previous rival. But it was a long war, and doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, I think this is like during the whirlwind of events between the two wars. World War I has resolved to I won't say great effect, but it's over at the very least, in whatever capacity you can say that about the First World War. And this is getting into the late 30s when troubles have started to brew again, and words of conflict are once again starting to flow. And it seems like things might start to turn bad rather quickly, but the actual warfare itself has not happened yet. Sir John is still in the military, though he's obviously not in any conflict at the moment, and he's risen ranks since he's been a part of it. And I won't speak on behalf of of what Bill's been up to since then. But I think that Sir John is like on a very brief leave that he has from uh, from his duties.
Certainly. Can we say it's Belgium?
Do it.
Cool. Before the push westward by the Germans and the fall of France and all of that, maybe you find yourself in a quaint little quiet town in Belgium. Maybe a cafe. You're enjoying some breakfast, some coffee. And you would feel that familiar sting in the back of your head. As you look around, you would see Bill, a little worse for wear from the last time you saw him, at least appearance-wise. I was caked in mud last time, but at least I was clean shaven. I would notice you as well, and start to smile as I walk your way. Bill would be dressed in baggy traveler's clothes, a large overcoat, backpack slung over his shoulder. Wouldn't ask. He would just sling it to the ground at the side of the table and have a seat. It has been years. I didn't think you'd make it out of that trench.
Yeah, he'll look at you, and a smile will come across his face. Yeah, it seems I have a way of surviving. Seems that you've made it out from the other side. At least no worse for wear. At least physically, he'll say, knowing what strain that battle had on everybody who was involved.
And I would look around us almost paranoidally. Say, yes, that conflict did teach a number of us a few things. And then lock eyes with you again. His demeanor would completely change. Bill would be all smiles at that point. Reaching into his bag, he'd pull out a cloth, roll it across the table. Chessman, as I would pull pieces out and start setting them up, and wave to the waitress to come over.
A game. It's been some time since I've played. A number of decades, in fact, but let's see if we can make something happen here anyways. You know, there's something... More things seem to move forward the longer the time goes on. The more complicated things have gotten, faster, more efficient, more brutal, more cutthroat. Sometimes, like tap down in the chessboard. A return to simpler things is a welcome change in these ever-changing times. And he'll begin to set up his own side of the pieces.
While you were speaking, The waitress was there. Bill had ordered his coffee. He sits behind a row of black pieces, awaiting your move. Say, yeah, simple is good. Complexity confuses things, yet all things have an ending. And at that end, there's always a prize. And the prize is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, he'll like scratch at the stubble on his face, on his chin. And you can't tell if he's thinking about what piece he's going to move or what you've said. And after a short bit, he'll take one of the pawns, place it forward, and then slowly nod. Some people might say that it's not the ending that's the prize, but the path to get there that brings the most fulfillment. Once something is done, it can no longer bring you anything. It could only be what it was, what it used to be. It cannot change you after what it's already done. While things continue, we can continue. I'd say that might be more beautiful in a way.
Bill would smile, looking at the board. Pieces and captures would interchange in the next few minutes. Bill would wave off that comment as it's a fool's errand to worry about the way when all that matters is who stands at the end. How we get there mostly is unimportant. I see you still have the air of military all over you. Still fighting these foolish conflicts.
They may be foolish to you, foolish to me, but to many people, thousands, hundreds of, even millions at this point, with the way that these wars seem to go, for them it defines their existence. Their entire lives will be the war and its consequences. It will be all that they know, all that they'll ever get to experience. It hardly seems meaningless to me if I can lend a hand. Years of wisdom, experience at the hands of ever-changing fate. Yes, I still fight, but I do not fight meaningless battles. In fact, they are the most important things to many people.
As you're speaking, Bill continues his moves, and you see one particular move that confuses you. You're not quite sure if it's sheer arrogance or if it's a blindness to something that might cut him down. But Bill leaves a complete opening towards endgame as he smiles. Yeah, I prefer to keep my own goals in mind. Personally, been hunting for a couple of years. Particular colleague, shall we say, has eluded my reach, and he would let that last piece go, and look at you almost daringly.
Yeah, and there's this frown that will twist across Sir John's face, and again, you can't tell if it's the strangeness of your chess play or if it's the words that you're saying. He seems to almost mix the two things together on his face. And I'll like scratch again for a quite a long time as he looks down at the now still board, the unmoving pieces. And he'll like look up, his eyes to meet yours, as if trying to assess if this is a dare, a trap, or simply a misstep. Hmm. You wear this veneer of flippantness to you. You seem like you say like things like you don't care. You play as if to throw away the game, and his eyes will kind of narrow, more focused at you. I have a feeling that there's more going on behind those eyes than you let on. And tell me, these goals that you have, your personal goals, do you think that you would be better to accomplish them on your own, by yourself, or with an army of people behind you? And a light kind of gesture to one of the military pins. See, leadership comes with its rewards. I help them, but they can help me. You walk alone. So tell me, how does someone like you accomplish what they want to without the resources, without help? How do you look to get towards the end of all this? To stand victorious by yourself at the end of time? And you can't tell if he's taking the bait or if he's outsmarted you or if he knows what's going on or not, but he'll take advantage of the opening that you've left on the board, calling your bluff to see if he's in fact been trapped or if he's simply outplayed you.
You would see Bill smile both while you're making the move. He's eyeing the soldiers behind you, not completely lost on the threat. And then as he refocuses on the board, the look on his face sours a bit as he realizes his mistake. Seems things aren't as straightforward as I would always like them to be. Making the only move he has left to play. And consigning, well played. But life is not always a chessboard. And finishes his coffee.
Yeah, the piecing, the game has reached its conclusion. And he'll with like of earnesty on his face, curious as to how happened in him. Am I having problems? I'm seeing strange looks and
Yeah, you're bouncing in and out. Your video is like catching up to itself and jumpy.
oh no. Is it bad enough that you can't catch what's happening?
Yeah, that when you were speaking before, I didn't hear half of that.
Uh-oh.
Your audio sounds like it might have caught up and is doing okay. The video is still a little jumpy, but
Yeah. Let me at least for a second cut cam and see if that helps. Is my audio clear?
Loud and clear, sir.
Perfect. So I don't know how much of that came through or not, but I'll kind of catch the more important parts of it. As John's like scooping back the pieces, he'll look up to you with like a surprising shift in expression, a much more earnest look than the one that he's had through this kind of battle of wits on two fronts that they've been fighting, the chess game and the conversation. And I'll just look to you. This is a tough existence that we lead. As we go through, some people fall. Can't help but take on part of them. They influence us. find it difficult. How do you handle it? I don't even know how to wrestle with these people sometimes that seem to fight within my own head. I'm not the person that I was. I feel myself changing, and it scares me.
And I would throw my head back and laugh at that. There's no point in being afraid. Sir John, Little John, as I've come to realize that it's sometimes better to burn out than to fade away. And I think that's a good place to call it.
Of course.
Yep.
Way to go. You not only worked in that line to that scene, but also the phrase in game. 50 points to Gryffindor.
Yeah, my nerd is showing through. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I love little homages like that. Make me smile. Awesome. Well done, guys. Man, like I said in the chat, like I love how chess is always a great like analog to go to in like any scene where there's two people at odds, you know, playing power games. Love it. Okay, so why don't you both reveal what your objectives were in that scene, and we'll determine whether or not you earn some dice.
All right. Yeah, I'll go first this time. Mine was convince your rival to give you some advice. Which I think that we kind of wrapped up a little bit there, especially at the end.
Right. Yep. Right at the end. Snuck it in under the wire. So that is 4 dice total for Senior Jeff. Jefe.
Ooh. And mine was to allow my rival to win a contest between us.
Yep.
Well played.
I would say that was fairly accomplished.
I would agree wholeheartedly. So that puts 4 for Jeff, 3 regular dice for Jason, and 2 hatred dice. Excellent. All right. Scene number 3, if you guys are ready to start that. Okay. We can take our break either before scene 3 or after scene 3, whichever you guys would prefer.
I'm good to do one more, if Jason is.
Yeah, I can hold on another round.
Perfect. All right. This scene is called The Bond is Broken. The players describe the moment when this conflict first began to manifest in earnest. This could be where one of you directly betrayed the other. Perhaps it was driven by jealousy or mistrust. Perhaps it was simply born out of misunderstanding. Play special attention to circumstances leading up to the situation. Could there have been another choice? If yes, explore what that choice could have been. If there was no other choice, why is it that neither of you can now let it go? Once again, if you gentlemen would please look over the objectives for this scene, send them to me in our chat, and then we can kick this thing off too. Hopefully everybody has had a good weekend. Appreciate everybody tuning in so far. This game has been super duper awesome, and it definitely looks like this this session is not going to be a exempted from that. Okay, got Jason's. Nope, I got Jeff's. Okay, cool. And there's Jason's. All right. So whenever you gentlemen are ready, you can go ahead and set the stage and then take us away.
I would say this would be a couple of years after the Second World War. Things have calmed down. The rebuilding has happened. The wall between East and West is well underway. John is British, yeah?
Originally, yeah.
Where would you say he would reside these days? Late 40s, early.
Strangely enough, he would have actually, following some of the stuff that happened in the other games, he actually fought at least World War II as an American. That he had kind of grown up in America through the 1900s and through the early 1900s. So at this point, it would hardly be right to consider him British. He would, like, legally speaking, be American. Would be his, like, legal national identity at this stage. And after the World War, he would have gone back home to the West Coast in America.
And you are right, Jeremy. I will fix that post haste. Okay. Let's open this up with you returning home from something important, something unimportant. It doesn't really matter at this point, but you would have 5 packages kind of lined up and stacked on your door. Yeah, we'll start there.
Yeah, it's like a car will pull up to his front yard to, like, let him out, and he'll step away, and the car will drive off after a couple words of exchange, and then he'll begin walking up. The house is fairly modest, especially considering his, like, station as, like, a general, and even further on as the World War II has ended. He's living, like, well under what his normal means for something like that would entail. But he would approach and then see these, like, stacks of packages, and his brow would furrow and twist in confusion. He's not sure what uh, all those would be doing here and what they even would be, but he would walk the yard up towards the front door.
You breaking up again? Pretty bad.
I got the gist of that one, though. You had walked up to the front door, investigating the packages.
Yeah.
Okay. On top of it is a letter, just signed Bill. Opening it up is just one sentence in it. It would read, strength in numbers is never a guarantee.
His hand will, like, drop the letter in his that was in his face, like, falling down to his side, and he'll kind of begin to, like, look around the yard, not fully on edge, but at least aware, watching out. That to him comes pretty clearly across as a threat or at least a warning of some sort. While he's not sure which, his kind of casual demeanor will shift back into that wartime mode he's become so accustomed to, and I'll be on edge, watching out.
Would you say that he would bring the packages in, or would you open one right where you're at?
Yeah, I think he's a bit worried about what might be inside. So he would check one out here first, just to see.
And as you cut the box open, inside the box would be a small cooler latched up. As you would unlatch that and open the lid, you would recognize one of your lieutenants from your previous wartime experience. He has a horrified look on his face, and the medals that you earned together pushed into his forehead.
His face will fall at the side of it. Like not into panic. He's been through too much of this across the years now to be like surprised by anything, only like saddened. And like think back to all the times, all the different things, how he saw promise in that lieutenant back before he even had that rank, and that he was the one that kind of helped to push for him to really take advantage of all that he could. Knew that he had promise as not just a military officer, but as a human being. And the loss of that potential, everything cut short that he knew that person could be. His face will fall. He'll just like shake his head, and he'll like slam shut the cooler and close it. Not bothering with the rest of the packages. He's assuming that they're all the same thing. And we'll begin to walk inside and go to call the police.
As you start to enter, you would hear your phone ringing, long, drawn out. You're not sure how long it had been ringing. Almost on cue from you walking inside.
Yeah, the timing of it is eerie. Either this phone had been ringing all along, or Bill knew that he would enter right at this moment and is somebody watching. And he couldn't help but like fidget down with his hand at the like hilt of his longsword at his side. Kind of grab at the handle nervously, twisting it, like pulling it an inch out of the scabbard before letting it fall right back down. Just kind of playing with it. And he'll walk up to the phone and he'll pick it up, but he won't say anything.
Are you there, John? Did you get my post? I hope you did. You see, I was successful in my hunt after the last time we met, and I could not help but notice the threat against me after our friendly engagements so far at the time. Oh, John, come now. Find it in yourself to answer at least. You see, I'm not
The
like
line will be quiet for a moment, but
the line will be quiet for a moment.
yeah.
As in to, I mean, okay, Bill will keep going. You see, we're not the same, you and I. Where you see hope along the way and fear at the end, I've given up such petty notions. And I am determined in this great game of ours. It will be I who stand at the top. And our hunt has just begun.
Well, you've got one thing right. He'll like break the complete silence on his end of the line. We are nothing alike. where you see threats, games, plots. I merely live. But do not think that I'm similarly undetermined. We fight for very different things. Where you gather power to kill, to taunt, to play with lives of others. I will stand as best I can to help. That when the great end of all things does come, do not think that I'm scared of it. You misunderstand me. Because as long as I can act to help the world against people like you, then an end to all this, or even to myself, will be worth whatever fight that we've had. I don't have time for your problems right now. I have more important things to attend to.
Then echoing off into the blackness of the scene is
My hotkey was not working to unmute for some reason. That was awesome, guys. We hadn't had a phone call scene yet. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so classic from like old movies. I think there's even some in some of the Highlander films. I'm sure of it now. Perfect. Okay. So let's figure out what objectives you guys chose. I wonder what they are.
Jason kind of did me the favor of doing mine for me, which was to have us my ally, my rival, convinced of how different we are from each other, which he very kindly proclaimed with his opening sentence.
we shared a common goal there.
And
It's
a
a very
common
popular
outcome.
one. Yeah, it's a very popular one for that scene, which is great. Okay, so that's the 2 dice option. Is that right?
Yep.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
So that will bring you, Jeff, to 6 regular dice, and you, Jason, to 5 regular dice and 2 hatred dice by my count. Excellent. All right. So let's go ahead and take a break. 5 to 10 minutes. Smoke them if you got them. Kiss your spouse. Go to the bathroom. Refill your drinks, etc., etc. And when we come back, we will finish up with scenes 4 and 5 and the final moment. So
Perfect.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in so far. Stick around. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. I switched over to the Saving Private Ryan soundtrack during the first few scenes, which served really well, at least through the first two. Did pretty good in the last one, too. So, looking forward to seeing where the next scene is going to take place. I'll switch up gears, I think. So, thank you very much again for tuning in and watching the finale for this tournament. As those of you who have been watching can see, this game, for some odd reason, is able to draw out some spectacular role-playing scenes when it's purely improvised. In the system, there's not much to it. It's literally just earning dice for role-playing and then spending them or rolling them kind of at the end. So it's crazy that it does what it does with as little as it has. It's impressive. It doesn't hurt, of course, that the two gentlemen playing this evening are both very, very gifted role players, of course, but
I think the simplicity gives a lot of room to go anywhere you want to. You're not restricted by anything. And I could see that as being too much for some people, and then perfect for others. And I don't know. I dig it.
Yeah, I think it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, I think it straddles the line of improvisation, like in the exact perfect way, where it gives you a dynamic to focus the scene upon without telling you too specifically how it has to be, which is kind of the easiest point, I think, for good improv to come from, because you have something to work off of and something to like build towards without being like locked into any certain thing. It's
very
like
true.
simultaneously very guided and very flexible, which is perfect.
I agree. And I agree with what you have said, Josh, in the chat about it feels like this particular style restricts the kind of evil side of Highlander a bit. It definitely does. In hindsight, I would agree to that 100%. I wrote this basing it off of a lot of the scenes that I found in the Reflections book, which is based off of Two Samurai. And I just didn't even really think about anybody wanting to play a really bad, dishonorable individual and needing to change it and make it a little more neutral. But yeah, say la vie.
If it means anything, I haven't found it too restricting to be a total dick.
Some people,
I think we've seen plenty of dickishness.
That's true.
Not just from Jason's character, but from a lot of them. There have been plenty of scumbags floating around, regardless of what the system promotes.
It's almost like you have to be an asshole to reach the end.
You are talking
We'll see.
You are talking about people who walk around killing each other for hundreds of years. All right. With that, speaking of killing each other, why don't we roll things on here? Okay, so we are going to hop back in here with scene number 4. The intermission is over, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seat. Get your concessions. The show's about to begin. All right.
Smack popcorn.
I wish I had popcorn. All right, scene number 4. It doesn't have to be this way. There was a moment when forgiveness was an option, when one approached the other in an attempt to mend old wounds. Who sought this meeting? What event, historical or otherwise, brought it about? In this scene, you have been brought back together on friendly terms, and you remember better times. This is an attempt at making peace, though the sting of the past is still there. Through the scene, it should become apparent that things simply cannot be how they once were. You don't yet know when the time will come, but eventually this relationship will end in the only way it can for an immortal. What happens during this meeting to bring that conclusion even closer? Yes, friendly terms is certainly a loose phrase in this case. Okay, that sounds like I may have gotten the dings I need. These are a few of my favorite things. See what happens when you give me guys. You guys give me a microphone. Okay, I've got Jason's. I've got Jeff's. So when you gentlemen are ready, fight.
You did?
No,
I'm not sure if you got mine.
I thought I did.
Seeing
Maybe
how
I'm
he's
looking-
still typing it.
Oh, that's from the
I
last.
haven't sent one, so
That's
if
from
you've
the
gotten
last
one, then
This is me from the future. God.
yeah, sorry. I'm still deciding.
No,
Just
you're
give me
good,
one
man.
second.
Spoiler alert.
So it's not convincing your rival to show how they are fundamentally different from you. I've got it. We're narrowing down the possibilities. God, who runs this shit? Okay.
Now I've sent mine.
Uh-huh. I knew you would. So
You prophet, you.
they called me Yeshua. No. All right. So whenever you are ready, go for it.
Have at thee, Jeff.
So I think it's quite a bit later, actually. Many, many years. It's into the modern world. After even some of the other conflicts have already come to pass. I think it's I'll say 2015, which is after every scene that John has done so far. Kind of breaking into a new world here. And I think that we're in a situation, we're not on friendly terms because we have anything nice to share, but I think it's because that we must, we're in a place that weapons cannot be taken into, so neither of us have a weapon with which to fight, so we must be peaceable for now. It's like this large banquet dinner, this celebration, sort of a party of sorts. And they've like been thorough. You've had to like go through metal detectors and all sorts of things to get in. It's a little bit more upscale, and they've done their homework with good security and good measures, so no weapons can be brought into the premises. And there's quite a crowd of people gathered. But I'll let you say what this celebration is for and why you're here.
2015, you say?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to live in an alternate Earth where maybe the world leaders have come together and signed a binding agreement to tackle some of the major world issues in a much more friendly manner. Effective, I think, is the word I'm looking for there. I believe that you and I would be there currently in this year, as we've managed to amass, especially in this digital age, a healthy sum of wealth, and might be at least known among the moneyed powers around the earth.
Yeah, I think John in particular is here for the significant contribution that he made to the American side of this campaign to like push this initiative to happen. He's made like an incredibly sizable donation in like the 6 or even 7-digit amounts that he's passed on to ensure that the people elected go through with this initiative. And he's like been very involved in the political scene with ensuring that these sorts of things are pushed. So he's been invited as like a guest on behalf of what he's contributed to it.
I would think Bill would be in a very similar boat. Maybe for different donations going to different causes, but nevertheless, still kind of a player at this level of things, at least during our day lives. Let's see. This, I can't see this happening anywhere else but just, Paris, just because of, in light of real world events. Paris would be a good place for a world agreement.
Yeah, so I think it's like this like lavish hotel that they've like changed like the entire like lobby and all the presentation rooms that are on like the ground floor of it into these like elaborately decorated and very like lavish events. They have like the finest catered food brought in from like top chefs in the world, uh, and all sorts of like fine drinks that have been like aged. They've like taken out some of the best in the wine cellars and all that. Like it's a very upscale event with like all the best that the world has to offer. And there's like dignitaries that have gathered from all over the world. It's this like incredible of like all sorts of different cultures and types that have all gathered here as representations of this like significant agreement that's been passed.
Right on. And I would say that Bill is at one of the speakers' rooms where they are droning on about going to do this and can't wait to initiate that and hope for the future and all the world's children and all that good stuff. And Bill would be extremely bored. Would step out along the hallway and wind his way towards the exterior of the building where a large balcony, those big like half-circled balconies, would be there. And I would walk out alone and take a deep lungful of Parisian air when an old familiar tingle buzzes across my brain. And I start to smile and turn around where I would see you.
Yeah, so you would hear, along with the feeling, you'd hear like the thump of like dress shoes on marble. As we've like gone up to like the second floor where this balcony is, it's very secluded from the rest of it. With all like the speeches and happening downstairs, most people are in the rooms, and like the general insane flow of people to all sorts of different corners of this place that will happen once the party officially starts has not happened yet. So it's much more secluded than perhaps it will be within the next few hours. And then you would just hear as you turned, thought I felt something foul in the air, despite all this.
And as I turn around, a cat-like grin cuts my bearded face almost completely in half. You see, this is the first time you've seen Bill in decades. One of his eyes is missing out of its socket. I don't even bother to wear a patch, even at a swanky event like this. A nasty scar cuts across where the eye used to be. Bill would hold out his hands. While I don't recognize this as holy ground, it seems you have caught me unarmed.
And if only like bringing his arms out in a similar kind of open invitation that you had. If only I had a way to take advantage of it. I'd take your head right now.
And I would chuckle. You see, John, that's what I've always liked about you. So unimaginative. Now, while there are nothing stopping each other from beating one another into a bloody pulp and ending it right here, I don't think that would suit either of our needs.
We've come all this way to be here. Be ashamed to miss such festivities. Perhaps before the end of all things, one way or another. Wouldn't kill you to find some enjoyment in life outside of killing for perhaps one day in your atrocious life. Maybe you'll find something here worthwhile. But you probably won't. I don't know if you understand what that word means.
And turning my back on you in a familiar gesture of just rank arrogance, Bill would set his glass down on the banister and lean forward and breathe very, very deeply. He would let out a sigh and say to you, I know you can feel it too. The gathering is at hand. And I feel there are not many of us left. I will say this. At the end of things, I'm glad to see you here. I've waited a long time to finish this. And finish it we will, but not here.
I wish I could say the same. Of all the people that I would get to stand with before this all comes to a close, I'd take just about any other immortal over you. Not because I'm afraid of what you'll do to me, but because I find you distasteful as a person. Of all the other people that I've come across, all the heads that have fallen, seems that we'll have saved the worst for last.
And who would you have rather seen at the end of things? A friend, perhaps, still hung up on the old stronger in numbers? At the end of it, there are no friends. There is only the prize, and there can be only one.
Do not mistake my idealism for softness. I'm not the one of two remaining of us for no reason.
Narrowed it down to two, have we?
It seems to be, if not two, then very close. Perhaps when we finally do come to terms, it will be for even greater stakes than you would have hoped.
Well, I know that you feel it as much as I do. That pull, that tug, all leading back across this pond. New York is there. New York awaits. However many of us will meet there is unimportant. Don't miss the date. And as I say this, I walk up and patronizingly place a hand on your shoulder and say, do say hello to that pretty blonde you left back in your room, and walk down the hallway.
Don will actually turn and grab your shoulder as you turn, as you go to walk away. Don't think your little games have any effect. I've lost more than you could ever think. One more person that you can take, even 1,000, will not change the feelings that I have. You play games with the wrong person. Your taunts have little effect. Your tactics, useless. The only thing left is blades. And I've always been a better warrior.
And as I disappear into the shadows of the hallway, I start to whistle, Time is on my side. I believe that would be seen.
Fantastic. Man, I can't wait for you guys to kill each other. Oh man, I love this game so much.
This is when we find out that we live in the worst possible timeline and that this scumfuck is actually gonna win. So
It might happen. It might happen. All right. So, gentlemen, if you would, gentlemen and Jason's character, if you would reveal, if you would reveal what objectives you chose for this scene, and we'll just discover whether or not you earned them. Earn them dice. There you go.
Ready. Mine was get your rival to say something admirable about you.
I don't remember saying anything admirable, but I will leave that to Jared.
Yeah, I don't know that I saw that happen.
Let's see. I mean, I guess it depends on how much you want to stretch the word admirable. He did say that he was going to be glad to see me at the end of it all rather than any other person. I don't know if that's a bit of a stretch.
I don't know.
Wouldn't begrudge anybody for calling it the other way.
I don't think so. I don't think that would have counted. But let's see here. Okay, Jason, how about you?
Mine was to make absolutely clear that there would be no ending to this short of my blade separating his head from his neck.
Yeah, you did your own objective, making it clear. Okay, cool. And yeah, I mean, I would say that certainly is clear, and it's certainly clear. More importantly, that that Billy honestly and truthfully feels that way and wants to make that clear. So that's going to earn Jason 1 die, and Jeff, you will earn a single hatred die. So for my count, that is 6 dice for each of you, and then 1 hatred die for Jeff and 2 for Jason. Alrighty. Time for the 5th and final scene. Here we go. Who wants to live forever? The final conflict emerges, and the rivalry boils over. Memories of the past mean nothing. The hope of peace is gone. And the only possible conclusion can be a final death. No longer friends, allies, or otherwise. You now stand across from a sworn enemy. Where does the duel take place? Does it have special meaning to either of you? When setting this scene, you should reference the prologue of the story, as it should correspond with the "We Stand Upon" declaration. This setting should be inspired by the events that occurred in the last 4 scenes. All of the emotion, the passion, and hatred from the entire story culminates here. All key components should come together to form this scene. This is it. After the last sword strike, you have reached the end of the game. I heard the dingy dingies, so I am assuming that means I already have your choices for objectives. There is one. There is 2. Okay, cool. Okay, so whenever you gentlemen are ready, let's kind of touch base on where this is taking place, and take it away.
Well, as Jeff established at the outset of this is going to be somewhere along the New York skyline. I don't think the building is going to be very important. Something with a bit of room. The fact that this is it is very, very clear. I think the buzz is strongest now as we feel each other's presence. We're able to feel it much further out than we normally did, and as you close in, it becomes almost dizzying in its power. Bill would be there, again, dressed in a bit of a suit with a nice gray shirt, black suspenders, sleeves rolled up above his elbows. In his left hand is his old saber, encrusted on the golden handguard with many, many jewels, each holding a special place, at least for Bill, as this is kind of his way to count heads. And I would be there and waiting.
Feeling is particularly overwhelming because you would know that John actually owns one of the offices in this building near the top floor. You would have felt his presence walking in, even growing stronger as you went up the elevator to the roof. You would feel it like just underneath, just like pounding as the workday comes to a close. He would have had his security team in this office, without telling them any of the specifics, make sure that they know that he has an important meeting, that he's going to make a phone call on the roof to end the night, and that under no circumstances is anybody to disturb him, that it's of the utmost importance, and that he cannot be distracted. And as the kind of orange-yellow sunset begins to fade closer into dusk, turning into a bluish black, it wouldn't be too long before we would hear the squeal of the metal door leading from the top floor up onto the roof itself squeal open as it opens, and hear of his steps. And John is similarly dressed in quite a fine suit. His business requires that he wears such things, or at least under his own rules that he's made for his business, requires such things. But he would begin removing the suit jacket to like fold it neatly and place it next to the door. Roll his sleeves up in the same manner that Bill's had been. At his side is this like finely well kept English longsword. At the center of the crossguard and on the pommel is like a red dragon symbol that's set into it, hailing all the way back to his knightly heritage so many centuries ago. The house that's brought him all the way from then until now. And it would dangle at his side, a stark contrast of time, as this like fine modern suit is contrasted with this very old historic weapon. Well, Put it on the calendar just like you said. Be here. Don't be late. Like, glance down at the watch on his wrist. Right on time, just as always. And I'll like unhook the clasp on the watch and slide it off his wrist. And like lay it next to the suit jacket that's on the ground.
And Bill would look to you, wild look in his eye. Anticipation is almost overbearing on this, and he would kind of swipe his sword tip to the ground, and a great spark would shoot across the concrete. And he, as it did, he would hold both of his arms out. I see that it's just the two of us now. Just as well. If I'm going to have a final opponent, I'm glad it's the coward.
Howard. Is that what you think all this is? I think you misunderstand. Cowards do not make it this far. What you think is weakness has been what's propelled me all along. But remember what I've been all along. I grew up as a knight. War has been in my blood since the day I was born, and has never seemed to evade me since. Time after time, battle after battle, blood after blood. And still I'm here. I've never run from a challenge, never left the battlefield with clean hands or clean conscience. I'm no coward.
And like a good little knight, following orders, and fails to see the trap laid before you. That opening was not an accident. And now, Rook will take knight. And I start to step forward, readying myself with my sword straight ahead and my free arm pushed against my rear hip as I settle into a battle stance. I look to John and say, now the time is for the prize.
So much that's happened. So many voices that now scream within me what I should do, what pain that you should suffer, what power that will have, and how it might be used. Yet in the end, it is the same, still small voice that will come to bring truth and understanding. That is my own. All that time ago, that I talked of fear, of losing myself to the others. It's a battle that I've won. Now here I stand. And they're like the slow as the long sword comes out of its scabbard. And he'll like hold the blade out to the side and then up across his chest. It will not be any of them that kill you, nor me. despite all of those people that are now here in us, with us. It is us two that stand. And then he'll bring the sword out from across his chest to face point at you. Enough. Let's go.
And I would use the tip of my sword to just clang against yours as maybe a bell ringing for the final round.
All right. That sounds like scene to me. You guys, it's all going to come down to this.
This is it.
The final moment. All right. We're almost there. So if both of you would now reveal what objectives you had for this last and final scene, please.
I, again, chose my own. I wanted to have John show hatred towards Bill, like genuine hatred towards who I am and who I represent. That could honestly, from my point of view, go either way. I will leave that to Jeff and yourself to decide.
Yeah, personally, I think you probably accomplished that, but I will certainly let Jeff weigh in as well.
If it were just towards you, I'd say no. But the fact that you threw in that and what you represent, I think, is what will tip it over the edge. Mm-hmm. That it's not you personally that he has any pure hatred for, but kind of that evil selfishness that drives that you seem to flaunt. So in the end, I think that will have come through.
Excellent.
And my objective was to convince your rival to draw their sword first, which you so kindly did before anything even happened. Yep. So thank you for that.
I would also agree to that.
Absolutely. That one's hard to argue.
All right. So by my final and total count, Jeff, I have you down for 8 normal dice and 1 hatred die. And Jason, I have you down for 7 actual dice and 2 hatred dice. So before you roll those, we will go ahead and have what is called the final moment. Both players are going to choose to either harness or release their hatred. You will recount the prologue, and then you will score your dice and roll to win the duel as described. No ties can occur in this setting. If the die result is a tie, the duel continues and the dice are rolled again. Repeat this until there is a clear winner of the duel. So, choose, if you would please, whether you are going to harness or release your hatred.
I think it would be remiss of me to do anything other than harness my hate with Bill.
And similarly, I think it would be unfair to do anything but the opposite for John.
Okay. So John is releasing his hatred dice. And Bill is using his. Cool. All right. So what we will do next is we will recount the prologue. The same as it was in the beginning. Whenever you gentlemen are ready.
And as our sword tips meet and spark with inner power, I issue my challenge. I am William Black-Eye McCullen. I've come for the prize, and I've come for your head. There can be only one.
Jason, if you would start off with our paths
I think we're
first
supposed
crossed.
to go through the whole prologue sequence again that we set up. Yeah,
at the top of the character sheet.
Oh, you'd think that I would know this by now.
You're good. You've been sick. You have a better excuse than anyone else.
Okay, our paths first crossed at the Battle of the Somme, and now we stand here on top of your arrogant building in New York skyline.
Yeah, the second line is Jeff's.
Oh,
yeah.
You go back and forth like you did in the beginning.
That's right.
Yeah. And now we stand upon the roof of a New York City skyscraper.
I remember when you were in that trench deciding if you had honor or not.
This feud started when we were the only two left to fight.
My name is Black Eye McCullen. I am here for the prize, and I am here for your head.
My name is Sir John Bennett. I am a knight, a fighter for the people, and the prize will be mine. There can be only one.
All right. So, whenever you gentlemen have gathered your D6s in the appropriate amount, go ahead and roll your base dice pool, please. Once again, what we're looking for is the highest die total that you have as far as the value goes, what pips are listed, and how many of those that you have.
Oh man, that's a spicy one. I have 3 6s.
Damn, Jeff.
Jeff rolled it. I have 1 6.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not over yet. You have 1 6, Jason. You chose to harness your hatred. So that means that you have 2 dice that you now get to roll. What happens is the highest die from those 2 becomes your new highest value, but they do add to your pool. So if both of those dice happen to come up 6s, then we go to a second roll.
How magic are these 2 dice?
We're about to find out, I think.
See?
A 6 and a 2.
Just enough to get you excited. All right. So in a very, very close call, I will leave it to the 2 of you to describe how this goes down and how Sir John will emerge victorious.
I feel like Bill will get the early hand at this. Just my speed and finesse overall as I dance around you and taunt you. We would back and forth across the roof, maybe destroying a couple of fan casings or whatnot. A couple of nicks here and there on either one of us. And at some point, I'll throw this to you where you would catch that upper hand.
Yeah, things like continue, and I think, like you say, there's like this just the savagery that Bill has is it's a lot for John to handle, and as much as he likes to talk a big game about how much of a warrior he's been through all time, the significant majority of his service towards the last hundreds of years has been as a general. So his actual like field experience, he's not had as much time to like practice and refine his swordsmanship as somebody who's more free floating like Bill has been. So just that pure aggression like overtakes him. You get a couple like good solid cuts in on John. And he can return the favor sometimes, but not nearly as much. And it seems for a moment like you might have him beaten. But then I think what gets Bill in the end is that he misunderstands John's craftiness at this stage. That he's not like the wide-eyed idealist that he had been for so long ago, that he has the souls of people like Henri and Shinji as a part of him now, and that dark drive that the other two have builds and he actually pulls your own trick back on you. He intentionally kind of, as you strike, he'll intentionally let his sword go wide, and you like pull in to like stab, and the blade will like go like straight into John's chest. And then just when you think that you have him beaten, he'll like lean into the sword, and like bring his sword up to your neck, intentionally taking the stab to the chest, uh, to leave himself open, seemingly so, before finally taking advantage of it.
And the air would be silent for a brief moment as, almost in slow motion, Bill's head separates and flies through the air. Maybe a look of actual surprise is across his last look across his face as he thuds bodiless onto the ground. I will leave the quickening to you.
Yeah, the look of surprise is, I think, mutual. In John's mind, like he had put these other personalities to rest, and kind of assimilated his own control, and to see kind of that wild, vicious craftiness come out at the last moment, in this moment where it seemed like everything might be lost, is surprising to him. But even still, he'll like fall down forward, your sword still like through his own chest, like kind of gasping. He'll like spit up some of his own blood, as his lungs will like fill. But then it's at that moment that this great game will start to come to a close, and he'll feel that he's felt before, that rush, that wave of power that will hit him like a truck, this time stronger than any others, as with these two being the last two, all the souls of all the immortals across time will have aggregated into them, and like the full encompassing power of like all of that singular entity coming into one would be overwhelming, I think.
Maybe somewhere in that last moment before the power overtakes you, you might feel Bill's laughter within your head.
Excellent. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much for agreeing to play in this little experiment, and for knocking it out of the park every single time that you have come to bat. It's made this series incredibly intriguing to witness. Being in a role as the GM, usually I'd have a lot more hands-on with what was going on, and this has been a sheer joy to kind of just sit back and let you guys dictate just about everything about these games, and to see how phenomenal that it's gone each and every session, and how it's grown in intensity and complexity as you guys have worked through existing timelines of the previous sessions, and then again Jeff throwing in like the names of some of the previous characters and things. It's so awesome to see how complete that this has been. So thank you very, very much. I'm going to toss this over to these two fine players so that they can once again plug anything that they'd like, put any thoughts out there that they want to do so with, and then I will put a pretty little bow on it and call it a night. So first up, we have Jason.
All right. I hope you guys liked that half as much as I enjoyed playing it, because that was just a thrill ride. Again, my name is Jason Smith. I run Smith Forge Gaming. Come check it out if you feel so inclined. Jeff, dude, every time I sit down with you, man, it's awesome. So this is kind of cool for me because Jeff happens to be the one that brought me into playing in 5e and AbTab. He was my first DM within this group. So there is that little catharsis there. And Jeremy, this was just a perfect way to flavor Reflections. So it's just been cool. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I hardcore nerd out for Highlander. It's one of my favorite things in cinema in all time. So this has just been an absolute blast. Thanks again. It's been really fun. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you around.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. Like I said, man, we don't get the chance to game together very often, especially not with me running you through games. So it's been a treat to be able to have you on for 3 sessions now. So thank you very much. Both of these gentlemen have YouTube channels. They have mentioned they can be found in the description of this video down below. Certainly go check those links out. Give them your love. And Jeff, final words.
Man, what a ride that this whole experience has been. An absolute joy to be a part of. It's even one like session of Reflections can bring like so much like depth and like power into a session with its ability to like work all these characters together and to like experience these different things with each other. And any one of these individual sessions could easily place as some of my favorite things that I've been able to do. But to see them all work together as part of this even bigger narrative has been like just an absolute joy to see each character's story and how it's affected the people who have gone forward, and then to finally get to see it culminate. And while I can't say that I'm sad for Bill to have died, I think that justice has won the day on that battle, on that front. I will say that I do not have similar feelings about the player that I got to sit across from, and that it's always a joy. Like Jeremy said, it's far and few between that we get to sit at the same table, Jason, but it's always a joy. And I wish that we got more chances to do more things like this, because it's always absolutely top notch. Yeah, I'm Jeff. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Counterbalance, where I run my games and do my own stuff. And I also do a podcast live show thing with our wonderful host here, Jeremy, and our friend Chad Nick, called The Dues of Yore. So go ahead and give that a look. And I just want to say one last thank you to Jeremy for setting this up. I think it's like been a fairly genius use of the reflection system, and the stuff that you've been doing with that whole system has been really, really cool, both with the individual games and with this greater series. So thank you so much for putting this on, because it's been an absolute blast from start to finish.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a real, just a real interesting thing to kind of watch this go from this little system that I played once before, and I kind of stored it away as being just an interesting kind of anomaly, and then somewhere hit on the idea of making it into Highlander, and from start to finish, it has gone very smoothly, which is not always the case with things like this. So I've been very, very happy with how this turned out, and congratulations, Jason and Jeff both, to making it to the finale. And of course, there can be only one. So Jeff, congratulations on that front. Gentlemen, yeah, I can't speak highly enough of you both. So thank you for being a part of this, and thank you everyone for watching. Whether you're watching us live or whether you might be tuning in the future, I sincerely appreciate it. Hit the subscribe, whatever button down there somewhere. It's shaped like a thumb. You can't miss it. Hit the like button. Yeah, stick around. There's plenty of other stuff on the channel. And until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.